In my past life, Shinyenjo, as the head of the review panel, blocked my promotion for 10 years, he said. As my wife, you need to avoid any appearance of favoritism. It's only the second year. There will be other opportunities. In the fifth year, Lin Rui, you should give more opportunities to the younger generation. If the older generation hadn't stepped aside back in our day, would it have been so easy for us to get jobs at the research institute in that final year? I knew if I didn't get promoted, I'd have to step down, so I pleaded with him, desperately, but the very next day, the promotion list was posted, and the name at the very top was his beloved White Moonlight. This time, he, who had always been so high-minded, actually used every connection he had to cut me out once again. In my endless regret, I was simply furious to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I was supposed to retrieve my promotion application. Lin Rui. I'm off to work. Remember to go see the teacher later and get your leave of absence request back. The sound of the door closing snapped me out of it, and I bolted upright in bed, staring at this old house from 30 or 40 years ago. I finally understood. I had truly been reborn. The year was 1977. It was our second year of marriage. Shinyenjo and I had both been admitted to the Northwestern Polytechnical University, but just last night, because Shinyenjo's mother broke her leg. We came to a decision. I withdrew my request for a leave of absence, gave up the chance to go to university, and stayed on to work at the munitions factory. He, however, went ahead with the plan and left to attend university in the Northwest. The following year, I had intended to try for university again, but I became pregnant and had to put my plans on hold. After that, we lived apart for over a decade. All these years, I'd been raising my child and caring for my parents on my own. All while holding down a job. But just when I'd finally managed to become a technician and had just entered the research institute, Shinyenjo came back. With his outstanding credentials, he became the head of the institute. After that, I spent 10 years trying to advance further in my career, but I was blocked at every turn, year after year. In the first year, he failed me, because I was his wife, and he was worried about gossip. He failed me. He told me to try again the following year. The next year, he said I still had a chance and should spend more time learning skills and knowledge. Even in the fifth year, I was still the one who got cut. I asked, humiliated, why did all the leadership at the research institute think my skills were solid, yet he was the one to reject me? He was silent for a moment, then said, Lin Rui, you should give more opportunities to the younger generation. If the older generation hadn't stepped aside back in our day, how could we have gotten into the research institute so easily? In my final year, knowing that if I didn't get promoted I'd have to step down, I pleaded with him desperately, but the very next day, at the top of the promotion list, was his beloved White Moonlight. This time, he, who always puts on such a righteous front, yet, he pulled every string he had to have me eliminated once again. He snatched away my final chance. My chance for promotion. That's when I finally realized. All those years we were apart, Shinyenjo was never alone. That person remained single for him, for life, no marriage, no children, just to stay by his side. In the end, he couldn't bear to see her leave the research institute, so he crossed me off the list. The moment I saw the list, my eyes instinctively went to the two of them. Shinyenjo breathed a sigh of relief, and the woman also wept with joy, and I felt like I had been sacrificed to their shameful, unspoken understanding. At that thought, my hands trembled as I covered my face, tears falling like broken strings of pearls through my fingers, quickly soaking the bedding. That foolish decision, I spent a lifetime paying for it. After calming down, I quietly made and ate breakfast. Then, I went to the factory to see the boss. The application, I haven't even submitted it yet. Changed your mind? I gave an embarrassed smile. I'm really sorry, sir. The boss waved his hand, returning the application to me. Comrade Lin, you getting into the Northwestern Polytechnic University is an honor for our factory too. Just the day before yesterday, I was trying to persuade Comrade Shen, saying it would be a shame if you didn't go. I never expected you'd change your mind today. It seems Comrade Shen's words carry more weight after all. I smiled, thanked the supervisor after receiving the application form, and then left the factory. The moment I stepped out of the factory, I tore up the application and threw it in the trash. Looking at the scraps in the trash can, I couldn't help but let out a self-deprecating laugh. So, the boss had actually advised Shinyenjo to send me to the Northwest, yet, he never mentioned a word of it. In fact, he even urged me to come and retrieve my application sooner. In my past life, I sacrificed my own financial future and career prospects to support him, so he could focus on his studies without a worry. But what did he do? At university, he found a kindred spirit, a soulmate, and for her sake, he blocked my promotion that very year. In the final year, he went even further, pulling every string he had just to protect his white moonlight, ensuring I was the one pushed out. I returned home with red-rimmed eyes. I sat there in a daze for what felt like ages before finally getting up to pack my luggage away. The new semester was approaching, and the journey was a long one. Shinyenjo had already taken the train ticket I bought earlier, saying he would return it for me. When I bought the ticket, there were no seats left for the same day, so there's a one-day gap between my arrival and the trip to the Northwest. I'm leaving a day earlier, which means I have a ticket for tomorrow morning. I need to figure out how to get my ticket back, otherwise, buying a new one might be too late. I made lunch in silence. Let's just say, it's for myself and Shinyenjo. Across this life and the last, consider it a farewell meal. Shinyenjo returned just as the final dish was being served. Here's the prescription. You'll need to pick up the medication from the pharmacy every week from now on. Shinyenjo handed me the slip of paper. I'm leaving the day after tomorrow. How about we go to the photo studio together tomorrow to get a picture taken? I remember my past life. Before he left, he also dragged me to take a photo, for the next decade or more. He lived freely and without a care, while I spent my days clinging to that photograph, look after his parents for him, take care of the children, and even sacrificed my own future. I gave a wry smile. All right, we'll talk about it when you can find me tomorrow. During the meal, I asked him, oh, by the way, did you get my train ticket refunded? Shinyenjo didn't even look up. Not yet, I was just planning to go this afternoon. Why? Give me the ticket, I'll go and get the refund. I paused for a moment. As it happens, I'm free. I actually need to pick up a document this afternoon and was worried I wouldn't make it back in time to return this, Shinyenjo said as he handed me the ticket. Clutching the ticket, I let out a huge sigh of relief. That afternoon, after Shinyenjo left, I took out all the things we used around the house. I gave some away as gifts and sold whatever I could. That evening, when Shinyenjo returned, he brought his mother back with him. In my past life, Shinyenjo didn't bring his mother over until the next day, so when I saw him bring her back, I was taken aback for a moment. What's with that look? Aren't you happy to see me? Shinyenjo was raised in a single-parent household. His mother had a tough time raising him on her own, that's why he's so devoted to her, and she's a very strong-willed woman. In my past life, I understood her struggles, so I always went along with whatever she wanted, but even though I looked after her for over a decade, right up until she passed, she was still incredibly critical of me. Now that I've been reborn, I certainly won't be indulging her anymore. Shinyenjo didn't mention you were coming today, so the place isn't tidied up yet. You'll have to wait a moment. Shinyenjo gave me a surprised look when he heard me call him by his full name, because I used to call him Yin, thinking I was upset that he'd suddenly brought his mother over. He hurriedly tried to explain, it's just that I had to pick up some documents today, and a friend happened to have a car, so I thought I'd go ahead and bring mom over a day early. Anyway, what's the difference? Today, tomorrow, it's all the same, really. Seeing her son trying so hard to appease me, even feeling the need to justify fetching his own mother, Mrs. Shin's expression darkened. Seeing his mother was upset, Shinyenjo quickly spoke up. Let's give our room to mom for now, we can stay in the other one. I don't mind, we're leaving tomorrow anyway, so it doesn't matter where she stays. Mother Shin moved into our room, and only then did her expression soften a little. However, she was far from settling down. One moment she'd have me fetch tea. The next she'd want water, and then she'd even ask me to wash her feet. I busied myself tidying up the other room, pretending not to hear a thing. Seeing my stern expression, Shinyenjo went ahead and did everything himself. By the time I finally finished packing the supplies and he collapsed onto the bed, he was complaining about how exhausted he was. Rue, my mother is quite particular, so you'll need to be extra attentive to her from now on, alright? We don't want her to feel less comfortable living here than she did before. I gave a non-committal reply. As soon as I lay down on the bed, Shinyenjo moved in close. I shifted away from him in annoyance. Your mother is in the next room. His breath was hot on my neck, and his hand slipped under the hem of my shirt. She won't hear a thing. But the moment he finished speaking, Mrs. Shin's voice rang out. Lin Rue, come help me to the bathroom. I closed my eyes with a bitter, mocking smile. Shinyenjo got up, resigned to his fate. Where's your wife? How come it's you again? Go to bed, hurry up, I can manage on my own. You have to meet friends tomorrow and you're leaving for the Northwest the day after. Don't wear yourself out. Immediately after, I heard a series of loud clattering noises. it was clearly Mrs. Shin making a deliberate racket to express her displeasure. I tuned out Mrs. Shin's words and quickly fell asleep. I woke up at 6 o'clock the next morning. Hearing me get up, Shin Yenjo thought I was going grocery shopping. Mom likes pork liver. See if you can buy some. I didn't look back. After washing up, I grabbed my already packed luggage and caught a ride to the train station. It wasn't until I arrived at the station that I realized how ravenous I was, so I hurriedly bought a few flatbreads from a stall outside. I had meant to make some at home yesterday to eat on the journey, but then, Shin's mother showed up, to avoid any trouble. I had no choice but to give up. After 4 days of rattling along on the train, I was completely exhausted by the time I reached the school. Once I'd finished all the paperwork, I collapsed into my dorm bed and slept like the dead. My roommates woke me up, just like me. They had all come from different corners of the country to be here. Once everyone felt rested, we decided to head to the cafeteria together. On the first official day of school, I didn't expect to see Shin Yenjo in class, after all. His mother still needed someone to look after her, but in the blink of an eye, I saw him push the door open and storm towards me. I was roughly dragged by Shin Yenjo out to the playground outside the classroom. Lin Rue, what on earth are you doing? Shin Yenjo looked absolutely furious, as if I'd committed some unforgivable sin. What is this all about? We had an agreement. You were supposed to give up university and stay home to look after mom. Why did you sneak off to the northwest behind my back? Do you have any idea that my mother is now home alone with no one to care for her? What is she supposed to do now? Huh? With that, he grabbed me roughly and pulled me forward. Come on, go pack your things. You're going home right now. I've already spoken to your teachers. I told them you're taking a temporary leave of absence. I wrenched my hand free from his grasp. What did you just say? Shin Yenjo looked at me with a cold sneer. Lin Rue, what on earth are you making a scene about? Do you even act like a proper daughter-in-law? You left my mother alone at home while you're here living it up. How can your conscience be clear? I stared blankly at Shin Yenjo, feeling a profound sense of unfamiliarity with the man before me, even though I had spent an entire lifetime with him in my past life. So you're saying your mother is injured, and as her daughter-in-law, it's only right that I give up everything to stay and care for her. But me coming here to attend the university I worked so hard to get into, that's me being difficult, that's me living it up. Is that what you mean? Seeing the complete unfamiliarity in my expression, Shin Yenjo's breath hitched. It seemed only now that he truly calmed down. He couldn't help but step forward and take my hand. I'm sorry, Rue, it's my fault. I got too worked up just now, he explained. But that's only because I saw you were suddenly gone, and your things were gone too, but we had an agreement. You were supposed to put your studies on hold and stay home to look after mom. We talked about this, didn't we? And then you just show up here without a word. You left that whole mess at home for me to deal with. What am I supposed to do? Shin Yenjo looked utterly worn out. It wasn't just the sleepless nights on the train, the 2 days at home must have been just as rough. Exactly, even in my past life, her mother was difficult to care for. When I was looking after her, I lost count of how many times I had to get up during the night. For months on end, I hardly ever got a full night's sleep. But whoever showed any appreciation for all that hardship in my past life? And Shin Yenjo? He only took care of his mother for a couple of nights, so what? Now his mother is suddenly a burden. I let out a cold laugh. Shin Yenjo, yes, we did agree before that I would drop out of school to take care of your mother at home. But you've only been looking after her for 2 days, right? How's that going? Enjoying this new routine? She's your own mother, even you think it's a mess. So what gives you the right to just dump this whole mess on me? Shin Yenjo was furious. What gives me the right? The fact that she's my mother, that makes her your mother-in-law. What gives you the right? I lost my father when I was young. My mother raised me all by herself, and she even helped me get married. My mother had everything set up for me. And now, I've had enough. Shin Yenjo, you know perfectly well that she's your mother, yours, not mine. Your mother's struggles, her hardships, they weren't caused by you, her son, they were caused by your father. Weren't they? But what gives you the right to demand that I, as the daughter-in-law, pay for it? Just because I married you, I'm supposed to give up everything and be your Zhou family's slave? Shin Yenjo, smack. Shin Yenjo, his anger boiling over, slapped me directly across the face. My head was jerked to the side from the force. Oh my, what's all this fighting about? Oh yeah, what happened? Tisk tsk, a grown man hitting someone. What a despicable piece of work. I pressed my tongue against the numb, tingling side of my cheek. It was a long moment before I finally looked up. Shin Yenjo clasped his hands behind his back, his voice filled with remorse. Arui, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Let's get a divorce, Shinyenjo, I said calmly. What? Shinyenjo's face instantly drained of color. I said, let's get a divorce. After finishing my sentence, I turned and walked towards the department head's office. The truth is, the thought of divorce had been with me since the very first day I came back. It's just that, if I had brought it up back then, this trip probably wouldn't have gone so smoothly, so I've been holding it in all this time. I never imagined that Shinyenjo would heartlessly leave his elderly mother behind and still come to school. What's even more despicable is that, the moment he arrived, he went to see the teacher on his own and told them I should drop out. Ha! Easy for you to say, just try again next year. Let's not even get into whether I could pass next year. The sheer fact that he didn't give me a second thought makes me utterly sick. In my past life, what did I ever get in return for him? For the children, for that marriage? It was him who found a soulmate in college. It was him who, after becoming my boss, blocked my promotions for 10 years straight. It's that every time I try to tell our child about my grievances, the child always takes his side, saying dad has it tough too. They think it's just fine for me to stay home and take care of the two of them. As for my wishes, my dreams, my future, in their eyes, they're not worth a second thought. I've taken a wrong turn once before, and I absolutely will not let myself stumble down that path again. When I explained to the department head that Shinyenjo's mother had only injured her leg in a fall, and was not bedridden or in need of round-the-clock care, even the department head was at a loss for words. My grades were excellent, even surpassing Shinyenjo's by a full 40 points. On top of that, I had worked at a military factory for 3 years and was recognized as an outstanding employee. Not only did I possess some classified knowledge, but my mathematics scores were also particularly impressive. In the eyes of the school leadership, my abilities were undoubtedly far superior to Shinyenjo's, who got into university solely on academic merit. At that time, everyone was saying that women hold up half the sky. A great many scientists and researchers are women. Many women have even devoted virtually their entire lives to the pursuit of scientific research. So, the department head didn't think that just because I was a woman, I should give up my own future to prop up a man who wasn't even my equal. When the department head asked about the handprint on my face, I naturally held nothing back and told Director Su all about how Shinyenjo had hit me. Comrade Lin, you can stay with peace of mind, focus on your studies. Our country needs talented people like you. Don't worry about anything else, you can go home with peace of mind. Hearing that from my teacher, a wave of relief finally washed over me. As expected of a top-tier university, the teacher didn't buy into Shinyenjo's story or believe I should drop out to care for an elder, simply because of my gender. I thanked the teacher profusely before finally heading back to the classroom. I never found out how the school administration handled the matter afterwards. All I know is that after Shinyenjo was called away that one time, he never brought up the subject of me dropping out to go home and take care of his mother again. As for me, I threw myself completely into my studies. It was over half a month later when Shinyenjo stopped me again. Lin Rue, how long are you going to keep this up? It's been days, and you've never once asked if I'm eating well or keeping warm. You haven't even done the laundry. What exactly are you trying to do? I looked up. I stared at Shinyenjo for a long moment before remembering that he had also come to the school. I rubbed my tired, stinging eyes. First of all, I'm not making a scene. Secondly, whether you eat well, dress warmly, or even if you can do your own laundry, none of that has anything to do with me. I've told you before. We're getting a divorce. If you've come to terms with it, we can go and file the paperwork right away. If not, then please stay away from me. I have a stack of books waiting to be read. I don't have time to waste on this pointless argument with Shinyenjo. Lin Rue, are you serious? You really want a divorce? Shinyenjo seemed utterly incredulous. I thought I made myself perfectly clear the other day. I stared at him coldly. Shinyenjo was incredulous. Just because I asked you to go back and take care of my mother, you want a divorce? You've been giving me the cold shoulder for over half a month since the semester started. Is it really that serious? Before I could even speak, someone called out from a distance, Shin, is that you? I looked up to see a woman in a white dress. Her long, jet black hair cascading softly over her chest. She approached us and stopped beside Shinyenjo. Shin, and this must be your wife. Then she turned her gaze to me, her eyes full of placating concern. I heard you insisted on coming here to study, leaving your mother-in-law behind, and you're still upset with Shin just because he offered a word of advice. No offense, but as a daughter-in-law, you really should be filial, otherwise. Even a good man like Shin here will grow cold-hearted. Shinyenjo pressed his lips together. Lin Rue, was what you just said true? Before I could speak, the woman cut in again, her curious gaze darting between us. What are you two talking about? Her wide, glistening eyes looked at me with curiosity. Sis-in-law, what did you say? Why is Brother Shin so furious? Wow, just a moment ago, it was Mr. Shin. Now you're calling him so affectionately. I gave a wry smile. And who are you? This is a private conversation between husband and wife. What business is it of yours? You're awfully eager to jump in. Don't tell me you have designs on your brother Shin. I let out a contemptuous snort. The woman standing before me was named Anya. In my past life, she was Shin Yenjo's confidant from university, the woman for whom Shin Yenjo cast everything aside, costing me my promotion in what should have been my final year. Anya, however, what I never expected was this. In this lifetime, Shin Yenjo had barely been at school for over half a month before he got tangled up with Anya again. It seems fate really does have a way of bringing them together. My sharp retort wiped the curious, innocent look right off Anya's face. She froze for a moment, then her eyes welled up with tears in an instant. How could you say that to me? Anya shot me a look of disbelief, then wiped away her tears in humiliation and ran off. Her white dress fluttered in the wind. Her slender figure looked as fragile as a piece of jade on the verge of shattering, a truly heartbreaking sight. Lin Rue, how could you say that? Shin Yenjo watched the fleeing woman with a pang of heartache, then turned to hurl vicious words at me. Smack, I slapped him hard across the face. He covered his face, staring at me in disbelief. Lin Rue, have you lost your mind? Smack, I slapped him again with the back of my hand. Lin Rue. Shin Yenjo was furious and raised his hand. I took a step back. Shin Yenjo, I'm right here at school, yet you're fooling around with another woman. Aren't you afraid I'll report you to the teacher? Shin Yenjo snapped angrily. There's nothing between me and Anya, we're just kindred spirits. I almost gagged when I heard that. Humph. I walked past Shin Yenjo without a word and headed back to the dorm. Since they weren't doing anything too outrageous at the moment, I naturally had nothing to say. Besides, I didn't want to waste any more energy on them. Since Shin Yenjo doesn't want a divorce right now, we'll just let it drag on. The first semester passed by in a flash. Due to my outstanding academic performance and prior experience working in a military factory, I was assigned a classified mission just before the first semester break. I was to spend a year at a research institute. No one knew about this, naturally. I never mentioned it to Shin Yenjo either. A year passed in the blink of an eye. It wasn't until my work at the research institute reached a natural pause that I finally returned to campus. Graduation was now just 6 months away. I need to come back early to take care of some paperwork. After graduation, I'll be going straight to the research institute. As soon as I got back, my roommates, whom I hadn't seen in ages, were all pleasantly surprised. We made plans to grab a meal at the cafeteria. I just never expected that the moment I walked in, I'd see Shin Yenjo and Anya sitting together, looking very close. They were practically leaning into each other, their movements intimate, just like a couple deeply in love. My roommate shot me an awkward glance. Lin Rue, you didn't know, did you? Your husband, Shin Yenjo, is a real campus celebrity because of his top grades. He has a lot of secret admirers. See, that's the one he's closest with. I knew exactly who my roommate was referring to when she said that person. It was Anya. I nodded in acknowledgement but kept my thoughts to myself. Shin Yenjo had always been good-looking and academically brilliant. If not for those qualities, in her past life, Anya wouldn't have remained unmarried for his sake, ultimately becoming almost like his eternal, unattainable ideal. It was just between the two of them, but there was already plenty of gossip circulating at school. But since I, the person most involved, hadn't said anything, everyone just kept their observations to themselves. However, now that I'm back, I think it's time to put my divorce from Shin Yenjo on the agenda. I took a step forward, closing the distance. Well, having a meal. Shin Yenjo and Anya paused, their movements halting as they both looked up at me. Lin Rue, Shin Yenjo shot to his feet. When did you get back? Where have you been all this year? In stark contrast to Shin Yenjo's agitation, Anya remained impassive, standing beside him. She fixed me with a hostile glare. I hear the two of you have been parading around school together every day, flaunting it for all to see. So, Shin Yenjo, how about we get a divorce? Shin Yenjo's expression changed, and he instantly put distance between himself and Anya. Anya, on the other hand, instinctively looked at me. You're really willing to get a divorce? Her roommates shot her a look of disdain, though no one said a word. She understood the meaning perfectly well. Anya's face flushed, but she held her ground against the mocking gazes of the crowd, her eyes fixed steadily on me. as if demanding an answer. She pressed, "Are you really willing to get a divorce?" Shin Yenjo seemed about to say something, but seeing Anya's courage, he too appeared moved. He grasped Anya's hand tightly and looked at me. "Fine, since you want a divorce, I'll grant your wish." I nodded, and that very day, Shin Yenjo and I went to get our divorce certificate. Right after the divorce, I headed straight to the principal's office. I had compiled detailed documentation about Shin Yenjo's affair with Anya during my year away and presented it to the principal. Compared to Shin Yenjo, a student who excelled academically on the surface but was morally corrupt, the principal assured me he would give me a satisfactory resolution. A few days later, I heard that Anya had dropped out. Of course, she and Shin Yenjo had already gotten their marriage certificate before she left. My roommate was full of gossip. "You have no idea, the school made it explicitly clear, only one of them could stay, but that Anya, she actually volunteered to drop out herself, so that classmate Shin could stay. TSK. Do you know how hard it is for a family to raise a college student? And she just threw it all away for a man. I really can't wrap my head around it." I shook my head with a bitter smile. "And she's not the only fool like that. In my past life, it was me. But in this life, it's Anya." Yet the one who benefits, in both cases, is Shin Yenjo. I have to say, whether in past lives or this one, Shin Yenjo is a master manipulator. Yet, after Anya left, Shin Yenjo started showing up around me all the time. He claimed that if I weren't so stubborn and inconsiderate of him, he wouldn't have had to divorce me. He also kept probing, asking in a roundabout way where I'd been for the past year I was gone and what my plans were. I know there's been talk around campus lately that they'll select 3 people to go to the research institute. I had excellent grades, yet I vanished for an entire year. No one had any idea where I had gone during that time. Shin Yenjo, however, was sharp enough to suspect that I might have been on some secret mission, and that I could now be a contender for the research institute spot he was after. I simply ignored all his probing attempts. The truth is, Shin Yenjo has no idea. Selecting personnel for the research institute was actually one of the reasons I came back. As for Shin Yenjo, who maintains decent grades on the surface but spends most of his energy being all lovey-dovey with Anya, he was never even in the running. The day to announce the list arrived all too soon. The school auditorium was packed that day. Many in the crowd watched the school officials on stage with nervous anticipation. Right on schedule, an official produced a list and read out the names of the 3 individuals selected for the research institute. From the side of the stage, I watched Shin Yenjo clench his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. As Xiao Zhang's voice trailed off, I saw the color drain from Shin Yenjo's face. Zhou Weiguo, Zhang Qing, Lu Jing, among the 3 names. None of them is him. I looked at Shin Yenjo's deathly pale face. It was as if I was seeing a past life. Time and again, I stood before Shin Yenjo in his role as judge, like a criminal facing trial. When everyone else declared me innocent, Shin Yenjo, this man, my own husband, has sentenced me to death time and again. In this new life, it turns out I am the one who holds the gavel. Watching Shin Yenjo watch his own dream slip through his fingers is utterly satisfying. Don't you dare accuse me of abusing my power for personal gain. Among the 3 candidates I selected, Zhou Weiguo's academic performance is better than Shin Yenjo's. Zhang Qing's practical skills are superior to Shin Yenjo's. As for Lu Jing, he is a talent who has returned from abroad, and the core technology he possesses is even more advanced and impressive than my own. Why would I choose Shin Yenjo over someone like this? That would be a dereliction of my duty. Alright. Those are the 3 candidates selected for the Research Institute this time. Next, let's give a round of applause as we invite Engineer Lin from the Research Institute, who is here for the selection, to come up and speak. A round of applause, everyone. The principal's words had barely faded. I was then invited onto the stage. I watched as Shin Yenjo in the audience suddenly stood up, then a pair of eyes fixed on me. Glaring as if I had done something to wrong him, I averted my gaze, refusing to look at him. After finishing my speech, I had just stepped out of the auditorium when my wrist was seized in a fierce grip. Lin Rue, Shin Yenjo's eyes were bloodshot. Why are you the selection officer for the Research Institute? Why did you choose the 3 of them, but not me? Is this personal revenge? Do you hate me for divorcing you and remarrying? Do you believe I'll report you for abusing your power? I wrenched my hand from Shin Yenjo's grasp and said coldly, "Suit yourself." Behind me, Shin Yenjo slammed his fist hard against the wall. Lin Rue, you'll regret this. That same day, I was summoned to the office. In the office, Shin Yenjo stood with his neck stiff, clearly seething with resentment. Comrade Lin, it's clear that student Shin is deeply dissatisfied with the personnel selection. He not only came to see me but also sent a formal complaint to the research institute, accusing you of abusing your authority for personal gain. So, could you please explain to us why you chose the other 3 candidates instead of Shin? The principal gave Shin Yenzhou a look that was half a smile. It's only fair that Shin is convinced. Shin Yenzhou's face paled, but his gaze remained fixed intently on me. I sighed, placed the documents I had prepared earlier on the table, took a step back, and said to Shin Yenzhou, "Take a look at these." Shin Yenzhou's resentful gaze fell upon the stack of documents. Only after he had finished reading through them did he stagger out of the principal's office, utterly defeated. He had lost this battle completely. The records clearly showed that the other 3 individuals completely outclassed him in every conceivable aspect. 2 of them, in particular, had quietly published remarkable insights in their respective fields. As for Zhou Weiguo, he had even been received by the senior leadership. As for him, Shin Yenzhou, he was merely a student with slightly better grades and a more handsome face, who happened to be popular on campus. Even students like him were a dime a dozen at the university. Even if you were to pick from this large group of students, Shin Yenzhou probably wouldn't even make the top 10. With that kind of track record, how does Shin Yenzhou have the nerve to accuse me of abusing my power for personal gain? I took my 3 students and vanished from public view under the cover of night. By the time I returned home again, 20 years had already passed, and as for me, I'd become the director of the research institute. Mom, is this where you used to live? My 2 adopted children looked at the city I had called home for over a decade, their eyes filled with curiosity. I smiled and said, "Yes, look here, this used to be a military factory. I worked here for 3 years. It's a shame, but the factory has long since become just an ordinary steel mill. It's nothing like I remember it anymore." Is that you, Lin Rue? I was surprised the security guard still recognized me. He stepped out of the guardhouse. "Oh my, is that really you, Mr. Lin? I heard you're working at the research institute now. When did you get back?" I was surprised the security guard still remembered me, so I chatted with him for a bit. We hadn't spoken for more than a minute when a nearby door suddenly flew open and a man was chased out by a woman wielding a broom. "Bah, I've slaved away for this family my whole life, and you dare fool around with another woman. Get out." As the door slammed shut, the man turned with a dark expression, about to say something. When he suddenly noticed our group, the man was taken aback for a moment. Lin Rue, Shin Yenzhou, whose appearance had changed drastically yet who remained as lean as ever, strode toward me. "Mom." My son instinctively stepped forward, shielding me. My daughter also held my arm tightly, protecting me. "Mom." Shin Yenzhou glanced at the 2 of them, then looked past them, his gaze settling on me. "Lin Rue, is that really you? You're back." I no longer cared about the past in the slightest, so, when facing Shin Yenzhou, I was perfectly calm and composed. Seeing that we seemed to know each other, my son finally stepped aside. Shin Yenzhou's gaze remained fixed intently on me. "Lin Rue, are they all your children? Did you remarry?" I simply nodded, then took my son and daughter and left for the government guest house. Departing from that place, I still find it hilarious. What on earth makes Shin Yenzhou think I wouldn't get married just for him, although for various reasons, I'm really not in a position to have children anymore. But my husband loves me very much. My son and daughter are also the orphaned children of comrades who gave everything for our country, and they are both very filial. My career is going well, and my family life is harmonious. I feel that in this life, I am much more content than I was in my previous one. In the evening, many old friends gathered. I heard that Shin Yenzhou is a teacher at a school now. All these years, I've been raising the child, looking after my parents, and working, all on my own. And then, carrying on with Anya at the school, his reputation was already in tatters, and back when I was selecting candidates for the research institute, because I didn't choose Shin Yenzhou, he went so far as to write a letter to the institute to report me. Although both the university and the research institute later came to understand the full story of what happened, the name Shin Yenzhou was still marked with a big red cross in the eyes of the leadership at both institutions. As a result, when it came time for job assignments after graduation, the university essentially kicked Shin Yenzhou back to his hometown, where he was placed in that military factory I mentioned, and every year he tried to get into the research institute. He was turned down. Convinced I was still the one meddling behind the scenes, he wrote several more letters to report me. Unfortunately, I was not the one in charge of the subsequent selection processes, and as I was repeatedly proven innocent, The name Shenyanzhou was permanently blacklisted by the Research Institute. Someone with such a muddled mind, the Research Institute couldn't afford him. In the end, even the military factory wouldn't take him. He had no choice but to become an administrative staff member at a school. When talking about all this, someone brought up Anya. They say Anya became a housewife after marrying Shenyanzhou. Over the years, she's had to care for her mother-in-law and the children. And their home life has been nothing short of chaotic. The two of them fight constantly at home. Shenyanzhou and Anya have practically become the neighborhood laughingstock. I just smiled when I heard that. Let bygones be bygones. In a few days, I'll be returning to my post. What does any of this have to do with me? Story 2. In the 7th year of my marriage to Yizhe, the city's richest man, an intimate video of him and his first love, Lu Mianmian, was leaked online. Unable to bear the thought of Lu Mianmian facing public scorn, Yizhe insisted on divorcing me, despite my pregnancy, to clear her name and give the child she was carrying a proper family. In my past life, I wept and pleaded, only to be humiliatingly thrown out and left to die alone on the streets. This time around, I agreed to the divorce without a fuss, took half of Yizhe's fortune, and went straight to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy. Yizhe still thought I would love him to death like in my past life, that even after a divorce, I'd foolishly have his child and wait for him to come back. To ensure the child in Lu Mianmian's womb would receive undivided love, he actually went to the hospital and got a vasectomy. Later, when Yizhe learned the truth, he completely lost his mind. Hello everyone, and welcome to Glimmering Love Stories. Yunqi. Mianmian is naive and fragile. To protect her from further criticism and harm, I have no choice but to divorce you and marry her. Don't worry, once she gives birth and recovers from this ordeal, I'll remarry you. Having been reborn, I looked at the face of Yizhe, now decades younger and still handsome, and a surge of hatred overwhelmed me. Without a second thought, I slapped him. A sharp crack, rang out, my palm stung, and Yizhe's head was jerked to the side by the force of the blow. He never expected me to strike him. Glaring at me with fury, he demanded, Ji Yunqi, have you lost your mind? How dare you hit me? Beside him, Lu Mianmian, with her swollen belly, wiped away her tears. Sister Yunqi, I know asking you to divorce A's is a lot to ask, but wasn't it you who made this whole mess public? Lu Mianmian sobbed pitifully, accusing me as if she were the complete victim. If you hadn't been so irrationally jealous and photoshopped those pictures to frame A's and me, I wouldn't be in this position. I'm begging you, to protect my reputation. For the sake of my unborn child, I'll get down on my knees for you. As Lu Mianmian's words faded, Yizhe pulled her into a tight embrace. Lu Mianmian's reminder made Yizhe look at me with utter disgust. He roared at me, Ji Yunqi, you were the one in the wrong here. You blew this whole thing out of proportion, letting Mianmian be insulted and mocked. Did you ever think about the consequences? I'm just cleaning up your mess. Let me make this clear, you're signing this document today. Whether you like it or not. I listened to the steel in Yizhe's voice and met his contemptuous glare. I remembered everything I went through in my past life. It was the same in my past life. A compromising video of Lu Mianmian and Yizhe suddenly went viral online. Lu Mianmian made a huge scene, threatening to kill herself, and insisted it was all my doing. Yizhe believed her. He was in love with Lu Mianmian and couldn't bear to see her suffer the slightest grievance. To placate Lu Mianmian, Yizhe ultimately decided to divorce me and marry her. In my past life, I was madly in love with Yizhe, and I had just found out I was pregnant. I had longed for a child for 7 years. No matter what, I couldn't bear the thought of my baby going through pregnancy and birth without its father by my side. I told Yizhe about the pregnancy and firmly refused to agree to a divorce. I thought that after 7 years of marriage, and with me carrying his child, Yizhe would surely change his mind about marrying Lu Mianmian. I underestimated Yizhe's determination to protect Lu Mianmian, and overestimated the importance of me and our child in his heart. Because I refused to divorce, Yizhe couldn't give an explanation to the woman he loved. The heart of a man who belongs to another can be truly vicious. In the end, to force me into a divorce, Yizhe resorted to despicable and shameless tactics. When I was 4 months pregnant and found out I was carrying twins, rumors suddenly exploded online that I was secretly keeping a young lover. Forged videos, photos, and chat logs were all over the internet overnight. Yizhe filed for divorce, claiming I had an affair and that he was not the biological father of the child I was carrying. He hired the best divorce lawyer, smeared my name, and in the end, I was left with nothing, not a single penny. I had always believed that all of this was a malicious frame-up by someone with an ulterior motive. Amidst a storm of gossip and judgmental stares, I gave birth to Yizhe's child. I thought a paternity test after the birth would clear my name, but I never imagined Yizhe would avoid me at every turn. He accompanied Lu Mianmian abroad for her delivery, bought a luxurious mansion overseas for her and her child, and spent all this time with them in domestic bliss. It wasn't until the twins I bore turned 1-year-old that Yizhe finally returned from abroad with Lu Mianmian. I took my 2 children to find Yizhe, hoping he would acknowledge them as his own. By chance, I overheard a conversation between Yizhe and Lu Mianmian. It turned out Yizhe was the mastermind all along. For the sake of his first love, he had cruelly schemed against me. His own wife, stunned and in disbelief, I missed a step, fell from the upper floor, and died on the spot. The memory of how that despicable pair played me for a fool in my past life makes me want to bite Yizhe right now. Seeing my continued silence, Yizhe's patience ran out. Yunqi, for the sake of our time as husband and wife, I've given you a chance. If you refuse, don't blame me for what comes next. Yizhe's gaze towards me was ice cold, and every word he spoke was laced with threat. After surviving betrayal and a brush with death, do you really think I'd be the type to cling on desperately? I snatched the divorce papers and skimmed them. I'll sign, but the terms need to change. I want 60% of our marital assets. My agreement to the divorce, coupled with my demand for 60% of the assets, completely took Yizhe by surprise. What do you need all that money for? So you want security? I've been by your side, building this life for 7 years. You can't expect me to walk away with nothing, can you? While Yizhe was lost in thought, weighing his options, Lu Mianmian over there was growing visibly displeased. The company belongs to Yizhe. You've done nothing for it. What gives you the right to take such a large share? What gives me the right? The fact that I'm the other name on his marriage certificate, I retorted with a cold laugh. I've stood by Yizhe for 7 years, building everything from the ground up, as his lawful wife. I have every right to claim my share of the marital assets. Lu Mianmian naturally didn't want me walking away with that much, but Yizhe, desperate to be with his beloved, made the final call. Fine, you'll get 60%, just as you asked, but listen, Yunqi, once you agree to this divorce, there's no backing out. If you dare to go back on your word, don't blame me for not showing any mercy. Yizhe probably thought my demand for 60% was some kind of reverse psychology ploy, which is why he deliberately emphasized his warning. Yizhe's face darkened the moment he saw me sign the revised divorce agreement without a moment's hesitation. Unlike my past life, I didn't cling to Yizhe, make a scene, or beg him with tears, which seemed to put him in a foul mood. On the way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, Yizhe wore a face as dark as thunder, as if someone owed him a fortune. He barely even responded when his beloved Lu Mianmian tried to talk to him. I completely ignored Yizhe's sour expression. I'm so excited to finally be free of that loser and start my life over. Speaking of which, Yizhe's fortune is no small change. After the divorce, I'll walk away with hundreds of billions. I was such a fool in my past life. With that kind of money, I could have had my pick of any young, handsome man I wanted. Why would I waste my sincere heart on this rotten piece of trash right in front of me? I'm mentally planning what to do right after the divorce. The first thing on my list is to terminate this pregnancy. Since I'm cutting all ties with Yizhe, I don't want to have anything more to do with that vile, shameless man. Once I get the divorce papers and recover my health, I'm starting my second chapter. I've heard French men are incredibly charming. I need to go to France and find myself a tall, handsome, young stud to experience that famous French charm firsthand. I was feeling quite pleased with myself. And as soon as we got to the Civil Affairs Bureau, I eagerly rushed to sign the divorce application first. Yizhe, who was following behind me, seemed hesitant. He held the pen for a while before finally writing his own name. After handing the divorce registration form to the clerk, I turned and walked away immediately. Yizhe chased after me. Yunqi, slow down, you're pregnant. Be careful not to slip and hurt the baby. Yizhe's words stopped me dead in my tracks. I stared at him as if I'd seen a ghost. How on earth did Yizhe find out I was pregnant? In my past life, to avoid divorcing Yizhe, I was the one who told him about the pregnancy. Now, in this reborn life, I had just gotten the prenatal test results and hadn't breathed a word of it to Yizhe. How did Yizhe find out I was pregnant? Don't tell me Yizhe is back too, I thought to myself. Noticing the look of pure hatred in Lu Mianmian's eyes as she followed us, I blurted out in shock, she's pregnant. Since when? I didn't say a word, just kept my eyes fixed on Yizhe, waiting for his answer. Uncomfortable under my intense gaze, Yizhe actually reached out to take my hand. Yunqi, I only just found out about your pregnancy. Don't worry, our divorce was just for show. I won't abandon you and the child. Oh, and you're carrying twins. so you must be extra careful. When we get back, I'll hire several maternity nurses to take care of you around the clock. Not only did Yizhe know I was pregnant, he even knew I was expecting twins. I was absolutely certain that Yizhe had returned. His hand gripping mine felt like being touched by a serpent's forked tongue, utterly cold, slimy, and nauseating. I yanked my hand away from Yizhe, cutting him off. That won't be necessary. Since we're divorced, we should act like it. I can handle my own affairs without your concern. Yizhe's eyes bore into me as he repeated, Yunchi. I told you, it's a divorce in name only. We will remarry in the future. What a disgusting scumbag. What is he trying to pull with this act? Having second thoughts about giving me so much of the assets, I've experienced Yizhe's methods firsthand. There's still a 1-month cooling off period for the divorce. And we absolutely must not let anything go wrong during this month. Suppressing my disgust, I changed my expression. I know our divorce is just a formality to avoid unnecessary trouble. We shouldn't have any contact from now on. After all, Miss Lu is too naive and fragile to handle pressure. I don't want my association with you to put Miss Lu Mianmian in the spotlight again. Something I said must have struck a nerve with Yizhe. His expression darkened, and he looked like he had more to say to me. Over there, Lu Mianmian, swaying unsteadily, grabbed Yizhe's hand. Yizhe, she said weakly, I'm dizzy, I can't see. Lu Mianmian went limp and collapsed against Yizhe, successfully diverting his attention. I seized the opportunity and made a quick escape. To make a clean break with Yizhe, I left the Civil Affairs Bureau and rushed straight to the gynecology department. From the blood test to lying on the operating table and finishing the procedure, it took less than 2 hours. An abortion is no small matter. It takes a real toll on the body. What I needed now was to take proper care of myself. Right after leaving the hospital, I checked into the city's most expensive and highly rated postpartum care center to start my recovery. While at the postpartum center, enjoying the delicious and nutritious meals, I started receiving photos from a bunch of unknown numbers, hands clasped tightly together, a tender, lingering kiss. At first, Lu Mianmian only sent me intimate photos of her and Yizhe. Seeing that I didn't react, she started to up the ante. And I have already decided, our wedding is set for next month. Spared no expense and hired the most famous wedding dress designer to create 18 gowns for me. He also had a custom One Love, One Life wedding ring made for me. The diamond on it was one he had someone buy at auction for 300 million. Oh, and we're having 3 wedding ceremonies. It was a promise A's made to me long ago. 1 will be here at home, and 2 will be abroad. The total cost is estimated at $1 billion. Jealous, it really is something to envy. After all, when Yizhe and I got married, we didn't even have a simple ceremony. Back then, Yizhe was facing a lot of hardships. He couldn't afford a wedding dress or a ceremony, let alone a so-called pigeon egg diamond ring. Back then, I was foolishly smitten by his looks and convinced of his talent. So I just dove headfirst into it. Yizhe was penniless, so I used all my savings to pave the way for him. We got married without any ceremony, just went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau for the license, then came back and had a token meal with a few close friends before it was all hastily wrapped up. I remember clearly how Yizhe held me on our wedding night and made a heartfelt promise. Yunchi, you're all I have left. Thank you for staying by my side and believing in me. I will succeed. I promise, and when I do, I'll give you a wedding fit for royalty. Yizhe did indeed succeed. Over the past 7 years, Yizhe's business grew larger and his wealth increased, yet he never once brought up the subject of a wedding. I always thought he was just too busy, that he didn't have the time, but after seeing Lu Mianmian's message, I finally understood. It wasn't that he was busy, it was that I wasn't the one he truly carried in his heart. Even though I had decided to let go of Yizhe and stop caring about what he and Lu Mianmian were up to, the photos and messages she sent still managed to sting a little. Just as I was feeling this pang of discomfort, Yizhe actually called me. I didn't answer his call. After he tried several more times to no avail, he switched to texting. Why aren't you picking up? Are you mad at me? Yunchi, the nerve of that scumbag. Does he think I'm still the lovesick fool from my past life who was head over heels for him? I continued to ignore him as Yizhe offered a heartfelt apology. Yunchi, be good, I know you're upset. That's why I gave us a few days to cool off before reaching out. Honestly, I had no choice. Look at the mess you caused, hurting Mianmian like that. She has depression and can't handle stress. I need to stay with her for now, but I'll make time to visit you and go to your prenatal appointments. What are you thinking, you bastard? Your child is already a pool of blood, I scoffed, and Yizhe immediately followed up with more fawning. Yunchi, I had someone deliver your favorite fruit and cake. The delivery person said you weren't home. Where did you go? For some reason, Yize had incredible patience. Even though I wasn't responding, he kept sending me messages, carrying on a one-sided conversation. Is the baby giving you any trouble? I've heard pregnant women often get morning sickness. If you're feeling unwell, please tell me. I'll come take care of you right away. Yunchi, please talk to me. If you're angry, just message me and let it out. Don't give me the silent treatment like this. It makes me so worried about you and the baby. Well, I'll be damned. Ever since Lu Mianmian came back, Yize has been growing colder and more distant towards me. I text him 10 times, and he ignores me 9, even when he does reply. It's just a curt okay, oh, or got it. So what's the big idea, putting in all this effort to send such a long message now? I remember it all too clearly. In my past life, when I told Yize I was pregnant, he left with Lu Mianmian without a moment's hesitation. He didn't even offer a word of concern, let alone bring me a fruit cake. What in the world is going on this time? He keeps asking after me and showing concern for the baby in my belly. What on earth is Yize up to? I don't believe a word of Yize's nonsense about him being worried that I might be concerned about the baby I'm carrying. Until I figure out what Yize is really after, I'm going to keep ignoring his messages. I thought Yize was just testing me, but to my surprise, he kept sending me daily greetings for the next 2 days. Everything he said, between the lines, made it clear how much importance he places on my unborn child. The sheer cheesiness of it all has me baffled. Did Yize get hit with a love spell when he came back to life? I was racking my brain over here when Lu Mianmian sent me a photo. The photo shows Yize and Lu Mianmian at a hospital. They're in a doctor's office, and Yize is holding a pen, signing a surgical consent form. Is Yize sick? I zoomed in on the surgical form with confusion, and my eyes widened in disbelief as I clearly read the words sterilization procedure. A sterilization procedure. Who had it done? Could it be Yize? No way. Why would Yize get a sterilization procedure? Is he out of his mind? I was itching with curiosity, all these unanswered questions gnawing at me. Luckily, Lu Mianmian didn't keep me in suspense and proudly revealed the answer. Yize is scheduled for a neutering surgery today, and I'm the one who told him to do it, to show off how much he's loved her, Lu Mianmian told me with great pride. The year Yize and I were most deeply in love, we made a vow. I swore I would only ever bear Yize's children, and he swore that I would be the only woman to bear his children. That's odd. I distinctly remember that the child in Lu Mianmian's womb isn't Yize's. Yize loves me too much. He knows I had no choice but to leave him back then. He knows I was forced into this pregnancy, and he knows my current health won't allow a termination, so he's decided to accept the child I'm carrying. To stop me from overthinking and affecting the baby's health, he's even decided to get a vasectomy to prove his love for me. From now on, Yize will devote himself entirely to giving my unborn child his undivided love. I'm stunned. He's giving up his own chance to have children, for the sake of Lu Mianmian's baby. What a tragically grand, earth-shattering love story this is. Yize went to such lengths for Lu Mianmian. His love for her is practically legendary. Lu Mianmian continued her long-winded tirade, trying to provoke me. Don't think getting pregnant gives you any hold over Yize. Let me tell you, in Yize's heart, I will always be the only one. He was willing to get a vasectomy for me and my child, so he certainly won't care about the baby in your belly. You'd be smart to go get rid of it yourself. Reading this, I couldn't help but laugh. I finally understood why Yize had suddenly started being so solicitous towards me and the baby I was carrying. He promised Lu Mianmian he'd get a vasectomy. He won't have children of his own in the future. Yize is convinced that I'm head over heels in love with him, and that I'd have his child without a second thought. In my past life, I was indeed madly in love with Yize, and I went to any lengths to have his child. In this life, Yize must think I'm just as foolish as before. He's so certain I'll have his child that he agreed to a vasectomy just to placate the supposedly ill Lu Mianmian. You have to admit, the love Yize has for Lu Mianmian is truly on another level. You'd actually agree to such an outrageous condition. I burst out laughing. Oh, Yize, for all your scheming, you never saw this coming, did you, that I would get rid of the child? If Yize knew the child in my womb had long since been reduced to a pool of blood, would he still promise to get a vasectomy? The answer is no. I'm over here laughing my head off, tears streaming down my face. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Yize had sent another message. Yunchi, are you there? How's the child doing? The fact that Yize even asked about the child proves his love for Lu Mianmian isn't that pure after all, does it? Before finalizing the surgery, Yize still had doubts about the child I'm carrying. After all, If he really goes through with the vasectomy, he'll be cutting off his own bloodline for good. Yize's no fool, of course he has to make sure. I certainly had to put Yize's mind completely at ease. After all, getting revenge without shedding a drop of blood was a fantastic outcome for me. I stopped smiling and sent back a 2-word reply, perfect. My reply made Yize very happy, and he continued to shower me with concern. Yunchi, I'm so worried about you. I know you're angry with me. And I've done a lot of soul-searching these past few days. I was far too harsh with you. Can you ever forgive me? Ha, anyone can spin a pretty lie. I replied, I don't blame you. You were in a difficult position. After all, we're already like strangers, with just one final step left. Of course I don't blame him. Not only did she not blame me, but she even wished for him and Lu Mianmian to be stuck together forever, never to part. I knew my wife was the most understanding. Yunchi, the one I've always loved in my heart is you. Mianmian is just a responsibility, after all. She suffered so much unfair treatment because of me. For now, please take good care of yourself and our child. Once I've sorted things out here, I'll come to bring you and our child home. I stared at Yize's message, lost in thought. Yize said Lu Mianmian became like this because of him. That's odd. From what I know, Lu Mianmian and Yize were indeed childhood sweethearts. Their love story is practically novel-worthy. Yize's father was a high-ranking military district commander. And Lu Mianmian was a fellow compound kid who grew up with him. Everyone in the military compound saw them as a match made in heaven from a young age. However, after Yize's father fell from power, the protagonist's halo around Yize simply vanished. Her childhood sweetheart, Lu Mianmian, had no intention of sticking with Yize through thick and thin. Seeing no future with a disgraced official, she began to entertain other ideas. I know this because in my past life, I saw with my own eyes how Lu Mianmian actively pursued a wealthy second-generation heir I knew, all while she was still officially with Yize. So what exactly does Yize mean when he says Lu Mianmian sacrificed so much for him, even with a second chance? I still know very little about Lu Mianmian's true circumstances. In my past life, my world revolved entirely around Yize, the child in my womb. And whether or not he loved me, in this life, I have no interest in Yize anymore. But it's still best to get some things straight. I sent Yize the fake fetal ultrasound photo I had prepared long ago. Once Yize sees that ultrasound, he's bound to go ask a doctor for the details. The doctor would surely give him a satisfactory answer. This is just the first step. There's one more thing I need to figure out. I dialed a phone number. Can you look into Lu Mianmian for me? I need to know everything she's been through these years. The more details, the better. Price is no object. Only after Yize was certain that I still loved him as much as in our past life, and that the baby in my womb was perfectly fine, did he feel reassured enough to enter the operating room the next day for a sterilization procedure. 3 days later, I received an investigative report concerning Lu Mianmian. When I opened the investigation file, I was immediately confronted with several close-up photographs that left me utterly dumbfounded. Completely unprepared, I was shocked at the sudden sight. A wave of nausea hit me, and I rushed to the bathroom to vomit. After I had steadied my nerves and gathered enough mental fortitude, I picked up the investigation materials and examined them carefully. A complete plan had formed in my mind. I powered off my phone and spent over 20 days recuperating at the postpartum care center before leaving. When I left, I turned my phone back on. Missed calls and messages started flooding in non-stop. All of this is from Yize and Lu Mianmian. Yize kept messaging me, honey, Yunchi, where are you? Say something, will you? Why aren't you answering me? Are you and the baby okay? I'm worried sick about you, Yunchi, please, just send me a reply. Okay. I ignored Yize and opened the chat window for Lu Mianmian's alternate account. At first, it was all Lu Mianmian blatantly flaunting and showing off how lovey-dovey she was with Yize, but that showboating didn't last long before it quickly turned into vicious attacks and insults aimed at me. Gee Yunchi, you bitch, where the hell have you been hiding? Did you really think hiding would be enough to ruin my wedding with A's? How dare you pull a fast one on me? Just you wait, I'm going to end you. A faint smile playing on my lips. I got into the taxi I had booked in advance. Before the car pulled away, I sent a message to Yize. I just got home, what do you want? Yize arrived quickly, pushing the door open while out of breath. He let out a sigh of relief upon seeing me sitting unharmed in the living room. Immediately, Yize rushed up to me. Gee Yunchi, where have you been these past few days? Why haven't you answered my calls or replied to my messages? I spread my hands innocently. I was feeling down. So I went out of town for a break. Then I lost my phone. Losing your phone is no excuse. Couldn't you have just bought a new one right away? It's a remote area. I wouldn't be able to get a new phone anytime soon. Besides, I doubt anyone would care whether I'm there or not. Yizhe let out a cold laugh. Well, Ji Yunqi, you've got some nerve now, haven't you? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Are you trying to get back at me? I have no idea what you're talking about. I played dumb, still pretending. You're pulling this stunt to make me worry because I'm going to marry Mian, right? I thought you were sensible and knew your place. I never imagined you'd still be this petty and jealous. Watching Yizhe's furious expression, I let out a cold, mocking laugh. Don't you find that ridiculous? What jealousy? Who would ever be jealous over me? You, have you forgotten, President Yi, we're divorced. You and I have been over for a long time, You're utterly unreasonable. Yizhe was so enraged by my words he was left gasping for breath. Didn't I tell you it was all an act with Lu Mian? I only married her because she was sick, to take care of her emotional state. Why can't you just believe me? Whether I believe you or not is irrelevant. What matters is that we're already divorced. I glanced at the time. The mandatory cooling off period is 30 days. It's been 29 days already. Tomorrow is the 30th day. Let's go get the divorce certificate tomorrow. My initiative to bring up getting the divorce certificate made Yizhe's expression shift inscrutably. He stared at me, his gaze lingering. I knew he was weighing his options. He used to be willing to do anything for Lu Mian without a second thought, but after the vasectomy, Yizhe had more reservations. Deep down, he knew it would be disastrous if we got that divorce certificate and things spiraled out of control. Yizhe hesitated. There's no rush to get the divorce certificate, no rush. Aren't you worried about Miss Lu having another episode? If something happens to her because of this, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I said there's no rush on this, let me think about it. Yizhe yelled at me. He was flustered, and immediately apologized after shouting, Yunqi, I only got angry because I'm so worried about you. Please don't take it to heart. You must take good care of our child. We absolutely cannot let anything happen to the baby. Then what about your wedding with Miss Lu? Let's stall for a few days. Okay, I'll keep her calm. If we can avoid the marriage, then we won't get divorced. We can stay together. For the sake of our child. Yizhe coaxed me with all his might, saying every sweet thing he could think of. He didn't know I had my phone on, transmitting every word he said to me directly to Lu Mian. Lu Mian was waiting for Yizhe and me to divorce immediately so she could marry him. Now, an unexpected complication had arisen. How could Lu Mian possibly endure it? I know she can't wait. I know she's plotting to make a move against me, and I've long been prepared, waiting for her. In my past life, I was a fool. I let my guard down, which is why she and Yizhe were able to hurt me, given this second chance. I will repay them 1,000-fold for the humiliation I suffered in my previous life. That evening, while I was out for a stroll, I was kidnapped. The kidnappers took me outside the city and dropped me off near an abandoned warehouse. I found a stick on the ground and cautiously made my way toward the derelict warehouse. The warehouse was pitch black, utterly devoid of light. I stood quietly outside the warehouse, listening for any movement inside. At first, the warehouse was silent. But then the sound of a phone call gradually drifted out. Where is everyone? Why hasn't it been delivered yet? I've been waiting here for 2 hours. What kind of operation are you running? Hearing the familiar voice of Lu Mian, a cold smile played on my lips as I slowly walked up to the warehouse door. I couldn't hear what the person on the other end of the line said, but Lu Mian's voice suddenly shot up several octaves. What? You let her get away? What the hell are you people even good for? Listen to me. You will find that bitch Ji Yunqi for me even if you have to turn over every stone on earth. If you can't bring her in, just take care of her. Listening to Lu Mian's shrill, furious voice, I kicked the warehouse's iron door. Hearing the noise, Lu Mian turned and saw me, immediately hanging up the phone. Ji Yunqi, she said, you finally showed up. I replied with a bright smile. You called for me, how could I not come? Without me, your little show today would be missing its supporting actor and couldn't go on, so, I had to come find you, no matter what, to put out a proper performance with you. Seeing not a trace of fear in me, Lu Mian was taken aback for a moment, then let out a series of cold, mocking laughs. You knew I was going to deal with you, yet you still dared to come. Are you truly that stupid, or just pretending to be? What do you think? I retorted with a cold laugh of my own. You conniving bitch, I was going to let you off the hook. But I never imagined you'd use your pregnancy to play all these mind games with me. Lu Mian glared at me with pure venom. You've been deliberately turning off your phone and disappearing, making Zhe worry about you, all in a pathetic attempt to delay our wedding. You've got some nerve, haven't you? I really underestimated you. I laughed. I'm just an amateur compared to a master like you, after all. I'm just using the tricks you've already worn out, aren't I? Feeling bold now, are we? Don't tell me you think that pregnancy is your get-out-of-jail-free card. Let me make this perfectly clear, you're dreaming. Today, I'm going to turn that baby in your belly into nothing but a bloody mess. As Lu Mianmian's venomous words hung in the air, I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Caught off guard that I had struck first, Lu Mianmian let out a furious shriek, grabbed a dagger, and lunged at me. I was ready for her. I pulled out the club I had hidden behind my back and swung it at her with brutal force. Unable to dodge in time, Lu Mianmian took the full brunt of the blow and crumpled to the ground. She tried to get up, but I didn't give her the chance. I pinned Lu Mianmian down, grabbed her hair, and began slapping her face back and forth with both hands. The sharp, crisp sound of the slaps rang out, fueled by a hatred spanning 2 lifetimes. I didn't stop, pouring all my strength into the relentless beating. I kept hitting her until my own hand went completely numb. Lu Mianmian was in a bad way too, blood gushing from her nose and mouth. Yet, incredibly, she was laughing. You're dead, Ji Yunqi. You're a dead woman. Oh, is that so? We'll see about that. So you want to frame me with a child that doesn't even exist in your belly. I'll grant your wish. With that, I stood up, grabbed the club lying beside me, and brought it down with savage force onto Lu Mianmian's stomach. Screams echoed through the warehouse as I swung the club down, blow after blow. Lu Mianmian's face contorted in agony, yet the twisted woman actually laughed. I kept pounding down with all my strength, blow after blow, until Lu Mianmian could laugh no more. A deep crimson began to seep from beneath her, slowly staining the earthen floor. She fell unconscious as well. Exhausted from the beating, I dropped the baseball bat, scooped up some of Lu Mianmian's blood, and smeared it on myself. Then, upon hearing a car pull up outside, I lay down beside Lu Mianmian. Yi Zhe burst in and was stunned to find both Lu Mianmian and me lying in a pool of blood. He let out a heart-wrenching scream. Doctor, someone, help. Lu Mianmian and I were rushed to the hospital. She had lost the baby. It was worse than that. She herself was severely injured. And the doctors performed surgery on Lu Mianmian for nearly 8 hours. In the end, Lu Mianmian was moved to the intensive care unit. The doctors said she would never be able to have children again. As for me, I only had minor bleeding. After receiving treatment, I was sent back to a regular ward. Yi Zhe had been waiting outside my hospital room for news. The moment the operating room doors opened, he rushed forward to ask about the situation. How's the baby? Is everything all right? The baby is perfectly fine. The mother is just a bit shaken up. She'll be right as rain after a few days of rest. Hearing the doctor's words, Yi Zhe breathed a sigh of relief. After arranging a nurse's aide for me, he hurried off to find Lu Mianmian. Lu Mianmian was unconscious for a full day and night before she came to. The moment she woke up, her first instinct was to call the police and have me arrested. She told Yi Zhe that I was the murderer, that I was the one who killed the child in her womb, and she swore to make me pay in blood. Lu Mianmian held like a madwoman, screaming that she was going to fight me to the death. I don't know how Yi Zhe managed to console her, but after wailing nonstop for 2 solid hours, she finally quieted down. Then Yi Zhe came to see me. He had an orderly wheel me in a chair to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize our divorce. Yi Zhe kept berating me the entire way there. It's all your fault. I had already decided not to divorce you, and then you go and pull another outrageous stunt to cause me trouble. Ji Yunqi, why can't you ever change your ways? I said nothing, just stared blankly ahead. Once we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, we quickly completed the formalities and received our divorce certificates. A smile spread across my face as I slipped the divorce papers into my pocket. Yi Zhe's face darkened. Are you really that happy to be divorcing me, Ji Yunqi? Have you lost your mind? I didn't want to give him a single word in response. Yi Zhe turned and instructed the caregiver, keep a close eye on my wife. If anything at all, happens to the precious baby she's carrying, you'll have me to answer to. Yi Zhe's entire world now revolves around the safety of the child I'm carrying. I gave him a knowing smile as the orderly wheeled me away. Yi Zhe, I hope you'll like the little gift I have for you. After a 2-week convalescence in the hospital, Lu Mianmian was discharged and immediately began pressing Yi Zhe to set a wedding date. Yi Zhe's patience with Lu Mianmian was wearing thin. He would often come over to vent to me about her shortcomings. Only now do I realize she's like a completely different person compared to the Lu Mianmian I used to know. She's so hypocritical. Is that so? I retorted, placing a hand on my stomach. Exactly. You have no idea how high maintenance she is. The roses for the wedding decorations had to be air freighted from abroad. Local ones weren't grand enough for her. She insisted on 18 wedding gowns, not one less, and every single one had to be designed by a famous couturier, and the diamond ring, even though marrying me is just a formality for her, she demanded I get her a one love, one life kind of ring. Seeing the sarcastic smile on my face, Yizhe stopped short. Yunchi, I'll make it up to you with a proper wedding after you have the baby. I promise it'll be even more spectacular than this one. He finally remembered the promise he'd made to me long ago, a look of guilt crossing his face. I was just too busy before and didn't have time to prepare. I promise I'll make it up to you after the baby is born. You have to believe me. I just smiled without responding. I knew perfectly well that Yizhe would never follow through on anything he said, right now. He just wants to placate me. After all, his only heir is still in my belly. Yizhe stroked my belly with emotion. Yunchi, you need to eat well. You're not eating for one anymore, you're eating for three. He's still dreaming that I'll give birth to twin sons for him. I smiled and replied, don't worry, I'll eat well. Of course I'll eat well. After all, I need to conserve my energy to prepare a special gift for Yizhe. The countdown to Yizhe and Lu Mianmian's wedding had officially begun. Learning from past mistakes, they were taking precautions to stop a jealous woman like me from causing trouble again. Yizhe deliberately arranged for several bodyguards to watch over me around the clock, preventing me from showing up at the wedding and causing trouble. While he was worried about me making a scene, Lu Mianmian, on the other hand, was doing everything in her power to provoke me and drive me mad. Lu Mianmian continued to send me live updates of her and Yizhe's wedding using a burner account. It has to be said that Yizhe's love for Lu Mianmian is rather unique. He invited all the city's most prominent figures to attend his wedding with Lu Mianmian. The wedding took over an entire 5-star hotel, in addition to the political and business elite. Yizhe also invited numerous celebrities and stars to liven up the occasion. The wedding was even broadcast live on the day, which is why so many journalists and reporters arrived early to stake out the venue. Lu Mianmian made her entrance at the wedding venue, gliding gracefully in a couture wedding gown, a dazzling diamond necklace and tiara, and high heels studded with crystals. A few adorable, dolled-up flower girls held up the long train of her enormous wedding gown. Camera flashes went off as people showered Lu Mianmian with praise. The bride is so beautiful. Absolutely, they're a match made in heaven, a perfect couple, both brilliant and beautiful. I heard they were childhood sweethearts, deeply in love and inseparable. They went through many hardships but finally ended up together. How touching. They are the perfect embodiment of true love finds its way. Amidst the applause from the guests, Lu Mianmian walked gracefully onto the stage with a gracious smile as the wedding march played. At the center of the stage, Yizhe, dressed in a custom-tailored suit, watched Lu Mianmian approach with a tender smile, awaiting his bride. Both wore sweet, blissful smiles, their eyes locked in a deep, affectionate gaze as Lu Mianmian soon arrived at Yizhe's side. The officiant passionately recites the wedding vows. Next, Yizhe and Lu Mianmian make their public declaration, pledging before all the wedding guests to love each other for a lifetime, never to part. The ring bearer presents the wedding bands, and the couple tenderly places them on each other's fingers. Then, to the cheers of everyone, they share a kiss. The large screen at the center of the wedding stage promptly began playing a video montage of Yizhe and Lu Mianmian, starting from their childhood photos. This was one of the interactive segments of the wedding, designed to let everyone witness the deep bond between Lu Mianmian and Yizhe, from their infancy through childhood, adolescence, and into adulthood. However, to everyone's astonishment, what appeared on the screen was not the pre-prepared, heartwarming footage. Instead, it was a jarring and inappropriate scene that left the entire audience flushed, hearts racing, and utterly mortified. Yizhe and Lu Mianmian were locked in a passionate, lingering kiss. Suddenly, an amplified, jarringly intimate sound startled them both, leaving them utterly stunned. In perfect unison, they broke off their steamy kiss and turned to locate the source of the noise. The woman on the large screen bore an exact, identical likeness to the bride at the wedding ceremony. She looked a few years younger, swaying seductively in a lacy outfit as she performed a provocative dance, moving alluringly toward the man seated on the sofa. Then she crouched down, leaning forward. The footage kept playing. Everyone stared, dumbfounded, glancing between the large screen and Lu Mianmian, who was standing beside Yizhe. Yizhe's face turned ashen, and Lu Mianmian was also stunned by the unexpected turn of events. She never imagined that the shameful act of abandoning Yizhe to chase after a wealthy second-generation heir would be caught on video, and she certainly never dreamed that footage would be shown at her wedding. Lu Mianmian let out a shriek like a startled chicken. Turn it off right now. No one paid any attention to Lu Mianmian's screams as the humiliating scenes continued to play, men of all kinds, different races, different ages, yet, woman remains the one constant. Lu Mianmian's legs felt weak. She tried to clutch at Yizhe, clinging to him like a lifeline as she pleaded her case. Aze, it's not true, someone set me up. It must have been Ji Yunqi, she's behind this, she's trying to ruin me. It was a setup, no doubt about it, and taking Lu Mianmian down was definitely part of the plan, yet, Yizhe saw the woman's enlarged close-up on the screen clearly. It wasn't photoshopped or spliced. He knew with absolute certainty the woman in the video was Lu Mianmian. This was the exact same face, the same expression she wore when she came back to seduce him. Yizhe had always believed that Lu Mianmian left him back then because she had no other choice. He had always believed that Lu Mianmian's heart was his alone, and that she only married someone else because she was forced into it. Lu Mianmian was the unattainable love of Yizhe's life, the one who held his heart. He couldn't bear the thought of them simply passing each other by. He thought that once he became the richest man, he could have anything he wanted. Chief among those desires was to finally possess the woman he had yearned for since his youth. So when Lu Mianmian came to Yizhe, shed a few tears, and spoke of being trapped and forced to say things she didn't mean, Yizhe's heart softened. He loved Lu Mianmian, he was determined to fulfill his dream. But when Yizhe saw the scenes before him, witnessing Lu Mianmian's true colors, the convictions he had held so firmly in his heart finally crumbled. He pushed Lu Mianmian away without a shred of mercy. She tried to grab his hand once more. At that very moment, the image on the big screen changed. Lu Mianmian, a slender cigarette dangling from her lips and her long legs crossed, cooed to another unfamiliar man as she boasted about her achievements. Don't worry, darling. I'm absolutely certain I can help us take possession of Yizhe's entire fortune. Yizhe is a complete fool, head over heels in love with me. All I need to do is go back, shed a few tears, spin him a couple of hard luck stories, and tell him I'm suffering from depression. He'll definitely take me back and raise our son for us. As for Yizhe's wife, you needn't be concerned, the man is stubborn and arrogant, with just a little scheme to fabricate evidence of his wife's infidelity. I can drive a wedge between Yizhe and Ji Yunqi. We'll find a way to get rid of Ji Yunqi and the child she's carrying. Once Yizhe is left all alone and unable to have heirs, I'll poison him. Then, as his lawful wife, all his wealth will be mine. After that, we can be together again. Yizhe watched the video, his eyes blazing with fury as Lu Mianmian confidently made her promises to the man. He slapped Lu Mianmian hard across the face. You bitch, you were plotting against me all along. The powerful blow sent Lu Mianmian sprawling to the floor. Without a second glance, Yizhe turned and strode out, gasping for breath. Yizhe's eyes snapped open as if waking from a dream the moment he saw Lu Mianmian's vile face on the giant screen. It finally came back to him, the reason he had returned. He fell suddenly ill and passed away 3 months after Ji Yunqi and the twin children fell to their deaths. His health had always been robust, so he couldn't fathom why he had kicked the bucket at such a young age. After watching Lu Mianmian's video, it finally all makes sense now. I didn't die a natural death in my past life. I was poisoned to death by Lu Mianmian, that venomous woman, Lu Mianmian. Yizhe was both furious and relieved, grateful that he hadn't repeated the mistakes of his past life this time around. Ji Yunqi was still carrying his child, and both she and the baby were alive, even though he was sterile. As long as the child lived, his lineage would continue. In this world, only Ji Yunqi would be unconditionally good to him. Later, he must properly apologize to Ji Yunqi and must protect her and their child. But Yizhe's relief lasted for less than 2 seconds. The assistant hurried over with a package in hand. Mr. Yi, your wife asked me to give this to you. What is it? Yizhe asked, puzzled. She said it's a gift for you and that you'd love it. She insisted you must open it yourself. Yizhe opened the package with a puzzled look, and a glass bottle came into view. Why would Ji Yunqi send him a glass bottle? Yizhe's first instinct was that something was off, and then he saw the crimson, blood clot-like substance inside the bottle. What is this? The assistant shook his head. I don't know, but madam said there's a letter inside for you. Hearing this, Yizhe looked down and found the letter from Ji Yunqi in the box. He opened it immediately. The first thing he saw was a neatly written sentence. Your children are inside. I've sent them to you. I hope you like them. What? Yizhe's hand trembled. His gaze returned to the glass jar before him, and at last, he saw it clearly. Inside the jar were indeed pieces of flesh and blood. So, was this his and Ji Yunqi's child? Did Ji Yunqi get rid of his child? Yizhe stared in disbelief at the blood clot in the glass vial. It was over. His bloodline was finished, he would never have a child of his own. This realization made Yizhe tremble violently. With immense effort, he steadied his shaking hands enough to pull his phone from his pocket and dial Ji Yunqi's number. The phone rang and rang, but no one answered. Yizhe dialed the number over and over, and finally, someone picked up. "Why are you doing this to me?" The voice that answered Yizhe was not Ji Yunqi's, but that of an unfamiliar man. "That's a rich question, Mr. Yi. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You know the saying, men die for wealth, birds die for food. If you could heartlessly abandon the wife who stood by you through hard times, why shouldn't she fight back? You, who are you? Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that I've just acquired your company." "Impossible. How could that be?" "A friendly reminder, Mr. Yi, MS. Ji Yunqi holds 60% of your company's assets. She has just transferred all of it to me." Yizhe was in disbelief, gasping for breath. He roared, "Put Ji Yunqi on the phone, now." After a moment, my soft voice came from the other side. "What did you want to say to me? You, Yunqi, you're joking with me, right? You're just trying to scare me, aren't you? You love me so much, you could never bring yourself to hurt me." "You're absolutely right, I did love you. And I truly couldn't bear to hurt you, but that was the Ji Yunqi from my past life. How could the Ji Yunqi who has been reborn in this life possibly let those who harmed her go unpunished?" I enunciated each word slowly and clearly. "Yizhe, from the very moment I returned, I have thought of nothing but making you pay, and now, I've succeeded. I hope you enjoy the game that follows." You're back too, Yunqi." "I'm not." The call was disconnected. When Yizhe tried calling back, he found himself blocked. He let out a cry of utter despair. 3 days later, Yizhe, the wealthiest man in the country, was announced as arrested by the procuratorial authorities. He faces a long list of charges, including tax evasion, bribery, and even allegations of criminal-on-criminal activity. A lifetime behind bars awaits him. Meanwhile, I boarded a flight to France with my massive cash payout. That's all for today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave a comment saying "Be happy every day." Wei Guang wishes you all happiness every single day.